He, however, never forgot his love for Coney Island in the summer. The smell of candy floss, licking ice cream popsicles, munching roasted popcorn, riding the carousels and roller coasters. Memories of Buck's arch enemy, Dutch Nathan, and his wife Ida, famous for their sizzling hot dogs, which he devoured daily with sweet mustard, a meal in itself. His shrewd father had moved with the times, realizing that the hawkers and buskers needed microphones to draw the crowds in to see the shows and take the thrilling rides. Buck had the monopoly and the knowledge that others did not have, so other funfair owners would sublease technical sound equipment from him as their businesses expanded too. Money was the name of the game. Buck's collection of undeclared $100 notes grew. He became a Scrooge hoarder, giving his wife money from time to time, but was stingy and frugal. He collected the notes in bundles of 5-inch thick with a $100 note at the top and the bottom, each roll sealed with special electrical masking tape to secure the bills. Over the years, Ted reckoned he had squirreled away $1 million, which he never spent. Always living in the same house, he had become, instead of the merchant of Venice, the merchant of Bensonhurst. Esther was not happy in her Scrooge marriage. She knew there was cash in the house, and one evening, in Buck's absence, called her 3 sons together, instructing them to search the house for the hidden fortune. But although they searched high and low, or low but not high enough, they gave up looking, and getting frustrated, so it appeared. Ted's long-suffering, frustrated mother finally left Buck and bought a guest house in the Borscht Belt in the Catskills, where Ted would go in his fancy Pontiac every summer, fraternizing with comedians such as Jerry Lewis, Lenny Bruce, and countless others who had begun their stand-up comedy acts in the famous summer bungalows of the Catskills. He would impress them by taking them out in his black coupe white 1955 Pontiac, which he had brought through the U.S. Army that had shipped it back to New York. Ted already knew Vic Damone, Elliot Gould, Eddie Fisher, and Larry King, as they had grown up in the same neighborhood of Bensonhurst. This, of course, gave him the traditional love of Jewish American humor and one-liners, which was to influence Hollywood and the movie industry. All 3 sons married and had families. Peter and his family moved to California, and Ted often wondered how he managed to buy a big house and set up his vacuuming store, as he apparently had so little to start with. The brothers all went their separate ways. Later, Esther moved to California to be close to her beloved Peter, her favorite son. The years passed, 15 in all. Ted was not in touch much with Peter, as they had grown apart over the years with lifestyles and all that jazz, but kept up brotherly friendship with Arnold, who had remained in New York, also in the vacuum business, with 4 stores, but he had had a brush with the mafia because he didn't want to pay for protection. So he too moved to California. One night back in New York, Ted was caught with Arnold in a terrifying electrical thunderstorm in his Pontiac. Arnold was scared, and thinking they may not make it through the night, decided it was time to confess that the weasel Peter had left for California with the hidden money. He had confessed to his mother that he had found it in the ceiling and had spent hours substituting the $100 bills inside each roll for $1 bills, leaving the top and bottom $100 notes so Buck would not suspect the theft. Poor Ted never knew about his family's betrayal. Even his trusted brother had hidden the truth. Arnold had eventually been told by Esther, but he, like Ted, never got his share of the stash of money. But Lady Luck took over. Ted somehow knew the tax law and what a walking trust was. After his mother's death from excessive smoking at the age of 72, Buck could not access Esther's money, which, ironically unknown to him, was his own money, without her signed death certificate, as they were legally separated. And Ted was the executor of her will. It was blackmail. Ted refused to release the certificate unless he was given his share of the booty. When Buck finally relented, Ted deducted his thieving brother's portion and divided the rest between himself and his brother. Ted asked Buck if he had any secrets, but Buck said no, never mentioning his hidden fortune. That was his mother's estate, but when Buck finally passed at the grand age of 105 in 2004, Ted inherited a mere $200,000. Why so little? Well, Buck, in his senility, decided to put his cash of all places in the bank because he thought it would be a safe place. What a joke, of course. The bank took most of the undeclared cash for tax purposes. I'm going to skip another paragraph because it's too long. One day, after a 30-year silence, and his dear brother Arnold had died from smoking, like Esther, Ted decided to forgive Peter the Weasel, who was his only family left. And today, Ted lives frugally but blissfully through happenstance in a rented condo in Florida, surrounded by his 40,000 butterflies and butterfly art, and he proudly calls himself a lepidopterist. Yeah, long live Ted, who beat Buck to win back his lost bucks. Woo!